On Tuesday evening, I went to bed early. I was exhausted after Yom Kippur. And while I know that there was allegedly some must-watch TV, I decided that for me personally, the best course of action was a good night's sleep. When I awoke in the morning, I checked my Facebook feed and saw posts from friends that they were checking the status of their passports to make sure that they were valid if they needed to leave the country. Other posts talked about how difficult it might be to get citizenship anywhere else at the moment. According to Google, following the debate on Tuesday night, there was a peak in searches for how to apply for Canadian citizenship. The urgency of the moment meant that spelling went out of the window, and the search how to move to Canada, C-A-N-D-A, also spiked alongside the correctly spelled how to move to Canada. Searches peaked an hour into the debate, and then again once the debate was finished. It's worth noting that the search was most popular here in Massachusetts. For me, on that Wednesday, the ironic thing about people rushing to find a way out of this country was that I had on my calendar call the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services to try and arrange a time to appear before a federal judge to finalize my citizenship here. 10 days ago, amidst my preparations for Yom Kippur, I drove into Boston for my citizenship interview. I'm pleased to report I passed. And then last Friday, I received a call offering me an opportunity to appear before the judge on Monday. Needless to say, Yom Kippur took precedence, and so I had a note to call that Wednesday to ask about a new date. At this time, when people seem to be despairing about the present and potentially future trajectory of these United States of America, I am seeking to cement my place here and become a citizen with all of the rights and responsibilities which that entails. My green card is renewable and would permit me to remain here as a permanent resident indefinitely. But I want to be a citizen. I want to be a part of this country. I want to be active in shaping her future. One of my favorite television clips of recent time was the opening of the series The Newsroom in 2012. A panel is taking place and a young woman steps up and asks, "Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?" Two of the panelists offer short formulaic answers. And then the series lead Will McAvoy answers, "The New York Jets," before the moderator pushes him to answer more fully. He first celebrates the Constitution as a masterpiece and the Declaration of Independence as the greatest piece of American writing. Pushed again for a real answer, he finally says, "It's not the greatest country in the world." He enters into a long monologue justifying his claim before saying, "It sure used to be," once again offering examples of how it once was the greatest. The impetus for his answer is a woman in the audience who holds up two signs in response to the question. The first, "It's not," and the second, "But it can be." I am becoming a citizen because of that second sign, because it can be. I am proud to become a citizen because I believe that America represents an experiment in democracy and freedom that has been and could be a shining light for the world. I am proud to become a citizen because in the Declaration of Independence, there was an assertion that all people are created equal and all of us possess inalienable rights. And I am proud to become a citizen because I have seen what this country can do when all people come together in pursuit of liberty, justice, and the common good. From the very beginning, America was a countercultural experiment. It was built with imagination for what could be rather than what had been or what was. The country was founded by people willing to take a risk, to risk it all in pursuit of freedom, democracy, and equality. This is not to say that it was perfect from the beginning. We know that there were missteps. We know that there were beliefs and ideas that needed to be corrected. But we also know that over time, progress has been made, that injustices have been corrected. And while we may feel that some of the progress is under threat today from extremist forces, we also know that we have overcome challenges in the past. At the very beginning of the Constitution, the words assert, "We the people of the United States," in order to form a more perfect union. What I appreciate is that the Constitution did not claim to be creating a perfect union in that moment. Rather, it was an aspiration to what would be possible. Forming a more perfect union is an ongoing challenge. It is an ongoing task, one to which all of us must be committed. And while that aspiration may seem more distant now than it has at many points in our history, we can take comfort from the past. The historian John Meacham writes, "To know what has come before is to be armed against despair. If the men and women of the past, with all their flaws and limitations and ambitions and appetites, could press on through ignorance and superstition, racism and sexism, selfishness and greed, to create a freer, stronger nation, then perhaps we too can right wrongs and take another step toward the most enchanting and elusive of destinations, a more perfect union." Over the past few weeks, I've been listening avidly to John Meacham's two podcasts, Hope Through History and It Was Said. I highly recommend them both. He looks at various moments and speeches over the course of American history and offers them as examples of the challenges that we have faced in the past and the way that they have been overcome. Each episode fills me with resolve and reminds me of the greatness of this country and the potential that lies within. In the first episode, he considers FDR and the Great Depression. The country was facing a terrible battle as the Depression ravaged the economy and destroyed lives. That moment could have been the end. But FDR, through bold and honest leadership, was able to conquer fear with hope and to counter the Depression with action to bring forth a brighter future. At the end of the episode, Meacham quotes from the speech that Roosevelt was writing when he died. "Today, science has brought all the different quarters of the globe so close together that it is impossible to isolate them one from another. The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. Let us move forward with strong and active faith." So why is this my subject for today? In all honesty, having had to deliver so many sermons responding to racism, prejudice, and so many of the plagues that afflict our society, I wanted to deliver a sermon about hope and to look forward to the future. But I also wanted to deliver this sermon today because I cannot think of a more perfect moment than the festival of Sukkot to talk about this country and our future. The very nature of the Sukkah is that it is a temporary dwelling place. It is not built to withstand the elements. Rain gets in through the roof, and in the halakha, the Jewish law, we read specifically that the walls should only be able to withstand a ruach metziyah, a common breeze. It is not intended that this structure should be immune to all of the elements. Rather, the Sukkah requires our building and rebuilding. We must be dedicated to the task of maintaining it in the face of the elements, and we can never sit back and claim it is done. In our Hashkivenu prayer, we pray that God should spread over us a Sukkat Shalom, a shelter of peace. My friend and colleague Rabbi Joel Simons asked the question of why we want the structure of peace to be a sukkah. Surely for something as strong as the structure of peace, we would want a building that would be impervious and immune to the elements, a building that could withstand anything thrown against it. But that's not what we want, and that's not what we need. It is a sukkah, temporary by its very nature, because it requires us to be constantly engaged in maintaining it and supporting it. If we leave it for too long, then it will fall and be destroyed. It must be cared for, nurtured, and tended to every step of the way. America, at her best, living up to her ideals and setting an example for the world, is a Sukkat Shalom. But for America to be this, we need to care for her, to tend to her and help her live up to her highest ideals, just as we need to care for the Sukkah. In the question that Will McAvoy was asked in the TV show The Newsroom, I don't want to debate whether America is or is not the greatest country in the world. That is subjective, a matter for discussion. What I am certain of, unequivocally, is that she could be. She has the potential to be, and I would argue for the good of the world, she needs to be. People have asked me why I'm becoming a citizen. There are many answers to that question. I want to be able to vote. I want to be committed to this country in a way that goes beyond residency. And I want to have a stake in this place in the same way as my wife and children. But ultimately, I am becoming an American citizen because I am an optimist. On a certain level, I believe that optimism is a necessary requirement of Jewish identity. To have seen what we have seen, to have survived what we have survived, and to still maintain hope for the future is at the core of Judaism. It's an approach that always believes the world can be better, that there is room for improvement, that there is more work still to be done. I am becoming a citizen because I believe in the potential that America has. I believe that there will be a brighter future, and I believe that together, we the people can overcome whatever challenges are placed before us. Shabbat Shalom.